On this episode of Five Things, we're going to talk mechanics, and not the ones I should point out that grossly overcharge you for replacing the Thermojam capacitor and realigning the Dujaflop gasket on your car and give you a mild heart seizure when you read the estimate, because this would make for an angry Mark segment, and that's not the case this time. As an aside, let me say that I have yet to meet a car mechanic that wouldn't take complete advantage of my lack of automotive knowledge and frighten me into opening my wallet. No, we're talking board game mechanics here. And if you've listened to us for any length of time, you probably know that each of us in the Meeple Society have varied board game mechanics that we particularly enjoy. And those often happen to figure heavily into the games we really like. I know, for instance, that Jessica likes a lot of games with card drafting. I know that Katy tends to like games with tile laying. I know that Greg loves anything that will let him win or blame someone else if he doesn't.
I didn't know that was a mechanic.
We just don't talk about me because it's really better for ratings that way. Usually. Right. But not today. Today we're going to groupthink our way into another list of 5 games that just happen to hit our happy spots specifically because of how much we like the mechanics. So join us as we give you 5 games that epitomize some of our favorite mechanics.
Okay.
So let us begin.
All right. I guess I was voted to go first. So my favorite mechanic, as Mark kind of hit right on the head, is tile laying. So, and I went about my list, not necessarily my favorite tile laying games, but the ones that I thought worked well with the mechanic and, well, epitomized this particular mechanic. So my first one, and this is a very favorite of mine, is New York Zoo. So my number 5, I should say, is New York Zoo. This was designed by Uwe Rosenberg, produced by Fuhrland Spiel, came out in 2020, plays roughly 1 to 5 players. Or roughly does play 1 to 5 players. This is one, very quickly, and the reason this one made the list is because it's polyomino. So it is 100% tile laying, but you are not counting points in this one. The game ends when somebody fills their board. Period. That person wins. There is no race it is a race to the finish. There is no points to count. There is nothing else considered. The game ends with the first person who fills their board. So each round with this one, this is done. There's a central board that stacks of tiles are put around, stacks of the polyominoes in different sizes. You start with the larger sizes and the stacks go down to the smaller sizes. And I looked at Greg and I totally lost my train of thought.
I can't imagine
that effect on people.
I guess so. Anyway, so you're moving 1 to 3 spaces and taking the top piece off of the board and putting that piece onto your board. Along with that, there are animals that populate your sections of the zoo. Animals breed at specific points of the main rondel board. You can pick up new animals off the rondel board. It's an interesting, what's the word I'm looking for? God, I can't even think of the word I'm looking for.
You put pins out so the animals can get freaky. Yeah. Make more animals so you can cover up the boards to get rides.
Can get freaky. Okay. So yes, you are filling your board up with animal pens to house animals, which will breed and make new animals. And as you pull animals off the board, you get to keep one, and the rest go back into the supply. There's a few more mechanics to it than just tile laying, but the reason this made my list is because the tile laying is what ultimately wins you the game.
So where were you?
I don't even remember where I ended, but yes.
So that's New York Zoo.
Yeah. A game that she can win. Okay, so.
Yeah, I haven't lost this one yet, have I?
No, she hasn't. So my mechanic that I like, Mark got it right. It's games I can win. No, just kidding. It is multi-use cards, meaning the cards in the game can be used in different ways. So my number 5 game is a Nicholas Roberts game from Hobby Japan as well. 2015, 1 to 4 players. This is the Bloody Inn. This is where you can the people come into the hotel. You can take the card and basically off them. I guess would be the nicest way, other than say just murder them. But
You're killing your guests.
Yeah.
It's nearly Halloween. I think you can get okay with murder.
Right,
Yeah,
you
true.
can recruit them into your party to help you kill other people. Or you can make, when you take the card, you can make them into a building where you can hide all the bodies at. So it's got multiple ways to do it. I mean, because like you have cops that come in. If there's any cops left at the hotel and you have a dead body you haven't buried, you're going to lose points. Well, you're going to lose money.
You can also let them check out and get money for them.
Yeah. Yeah. If they check into
Just
your,
saying.
because you have rooms on the board that are your rooms marked by your little token. And
But letting them check out isn't nearly as fun.
no,
I guess.
you want to take them out because the more people you
off.
the more points you're going to get, as long as you get them buried. Because once you go to bury them, you get to pick their pockets and you get the money that they had. So it's a very interesting game. It's a great game to play around Halloween. So, and it has an expansion where the carnies now come into town. So you get to take out some of those carnies. You know,
Yeah, this is what I've never won.
We have this game and the expansion. I used my miniature market birthday coupon on it or whatever. We haven't played it yet.
Yeah.
I'm excited to play
it's
it
hilarious
eventually.
game. I liked it a lot.
Game.
This is one game that Katie thought about calling. I was like, no, I like this game.
I tried. It's
But, so,
okay.
yeah, so
I'm not a big fan
That's
of it.
my number 5, The Bloody Inn.
Nice. All right. So, as should come as a surprise to essentially no one, my favorite mechanic is chucking the bones, dice rolling. I like dice. I like the randomness, and I don't care how Ameritrash it is. I like the fact that it best simulates the overall human experience where you can plan out for everything in every way, right down to the last detail, check off every box, double and triple check it, and then your car can drop a transmission pulling out of the driveway. Or how you can prepare your militia force, run them through all the proper training, outfit and equip them, and send them out into the field and watch them get beaten by a bunch of emus. Dice rolling gives you the highs of a tiny college team taking down a huge Division I favorite and the lows of a thief that fumbles his backstab check after being invisible, silent, hiding in shadows with a poison dagger and going after a preoccupied guard. Real life offers you no guarantees, and neither do click-clack math rocks, and that's why games that utilize them are awesome. So the first one, number 5 on my list, I could have gone with a whole lot of different ones, and strangely enough, I went with the one that is going to cause me the most backache, which is Middara. I could have gone with easily Sagrada or Role Player, both of which are games that I really do like, but I opted for games that didn't quite fit the usual mold where dice don't take the center stage, but they kind of add to the experience. So my first game is a dungeon crawl with narrative adventure with dice, which is immediately one of the staples of the genre. After all, what's the best way to utilize dice if you're someone with a background in RPGs? Attacking things. And that's what, while that's not the only thing that makes the game Middara awesome, it is one of the highlights. Middara was done by Succubus Publishing, and it has a JRPG-ish, video game-ish sort of feel to it. And yet I forgive that because it also has a gripping story, a lot of narrative, amazing character customization ability, great component quality, and scads of dice. And they're not just for show. As you progress in the game and get better weapons and abilities as you're going through these dungeons and encounters, your dice upgrade in color and power from your more basic 6-siders to ones that have better number ranges. And that's only part of your combat ability. The dice also have stars and shields and book icons on their sides. And these get added in later to do additional effects after you have already done your attack and your damage. It does make for somewhat brutal combat system in some cases, but it's enjoyable within a sleek dungeon crawl game with amazing components where most of the combats have this undeniable kind of edge of your seat, things can go either way feel that you just don't get with deterministic card pulls. So that's why I like dice that's why I like Middara. Number 5, Middara.
All right. So my favorite mechanic is deck building. Now, I kind of wanted to go for engine building, but ultimately with engine building, I always get salty because I feel like I just need one more round.
Yes,
Always.
that's how all are.
Always.
So I went with deck building. So my number 5 is Mystic Vale from AEG. Okay, good, it's upright. And the core game was originally released in 2016. Mystic Vale and its several expansions have unbelievably beautiful art. The players will take on a role of these druidic clans, there we go, trying to rid their lands of a curse. And to do this, the players not only build their decks, but also craft the individual cards. So I've never, ever won a single game of this. Otherwise, it would have been much, much higher on my list. But if you are familiar with a newer game, Dead Reckoning, it's got a similar card crafting deal where you have these individual, like, clear plastic cards.
Mm-hmm.
And, things are set up in certain areas and you've got a sleeve and you just kind of put them in and fill it up. You don't want to block anything on the previous layers. And you just, you craft your own card. And sometimes, an ability you put on there will be for a certain symbol. And you can basically kind of get like a synergy between this card, between the different slides that you've put into it. It's just, and it's pretty. We've got the big conclave box, and I finally put all of our expansions into it. So this is empty. I had to go upstairs and find it.
It felt like you cared the way you were handling it. I kind of figured it was empty.
Throwing it around.
Throwing it around.
Yeah.
So, but no, it is beautiful, and unfortunately, I am very visually drawn. So that's my number 5, Mystic Vale.
Cool. Good pick.
I like that one. All right. My number 4 in Tile Lane Games is My City. Again, this is, first of all, this was designed by Michael Menzel, published by Cosmos in 2020, plays 2 to 4 players. This one made my list. Again, polyomino type game, but this one specifically made my list because it's a legacy Tile Lane game. And each round, you are filling your board, of course, with polyomino tiles with certain rules applying to where things can play, where you can place certain things. But each round, your board is slightly changing. If you lose the game, then you get certain stickers to put onto your board that stay there permanently. If you win the game, you get different things to put on the board. We've played the first few episodes,
2 or 3 at least.
Yeah, we've played a few of them now.
And I've lost horribly again because it's a polyomino game.
I need to get this one back out. Well, this is on our short list of things to get back to the table, but very, very interesting. They even say that if you play it 2-player, you can turn around and play the whole legacy campaign again with the other 2 boards.
Yeah.
So,
that's cool.
Yeah. Or once you're done, you have a permanent, a custom board that you can play the game with at future times. So we have not yet finished the legacy of it. It is definitely on our list though. But yeah, that is My City. Again, the whole reason it made my list is because it is a legacy. It's the only one I know of its kind that is a Tile Lane legacy game. So that is My City.
Okay, my number 5 on multi-use cards. My number 5, yeah. Number 4 shows you how well I'm paying attention here. Is a Frederick Gerard game from Le Boit Le Jeu, 2019, 1 to 5 players. This is It's a Wonderful World. Because Jessica perked up. But no, I like the way the cards are used because it's the 7 Wonders draft where you're taking a card out of a pile and passing it around. Then once everybody has their cards, you get to pick. Am I going to build this building?
Am I gonna
to
use
get
for
it into my
resources?
engine,
Yeah.
to be able to run my engine a little better and get extra points at the end of the game? Or am I just going to discard and get the resources to
Mhm.
build the other buildings? But yeah, I mean, it does enough multi-card juicing in that game because
Multi-card using.
that is a new phrase. It is
Yep.
a new gaming phrase, multi-card using.
Nowadays, you can use any noun as a verb.
Yes.
This is true.
Yes.
I'd like
So-
to say that I heard multi-card juicing, and I was really confused. So thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, using, no J. But yeah, I do like the game. As
Mhm.
Jess said earlier in the show, that she really liked
Yeah, this is a
That,
good
but-
one. One of my
Yeah.
favorites.
Mhm.
We don't play
Absolutely.
it really
So-
often enough.
that. It's a Wonderful World at my number 4.
All righty. My number 4, while basically throwing down and just counting numbers for combat is certainly a good use of the dice, early on in our board game endeavors, I found that resolving actions with the icons on dice is every bit as enjoyable. And that led to a game that we've recently covered here on the Meeple Society, The Reckoners by Nabu Games. In The Reckoners, you are tasked with dispatching evil people with superpowers who are known as epics before they cull the normal population of the various areas of New Chicago with their terrifying powers and make their leader, an epic named Steelheart, reign supreme. Each player is a member of a group of normal people known as the Reckoners who have to use their skills to defeat the henchmen and lesser bosses on the way up, learning the weaknesses of the big bad. This is done through using dice actions, rolling up to 3 times with the Yahtzee-style roll and lock mechanism, and resolving icons cooperatively by spending them to move, research the epics, contain their powers, plan ahead, remove barricades, and earn money for better equipment. Like we see in many games with dice that want to showcase player agency, which is, by the way, morphed into a buzz phrase for I get to do what I want no matter what the rules say. Reckoners has a mitigating mechanism, the plan tokens, which can be used on turns after you acquire them for basically any action, just in case you don't roll the dice that you need. So if you are one of those people that feel that dice are evil because you can never pull the small straight when you need to, and that obviously ruins the fun for everyone, well, the Reckoners has you covered. Thank you, you unlucky bum. The whole game has outstanding product values, from the trays to the figures to the chunky dice, and the whole game just really comes together well. It's definitely a challenging game, but a very worthwhile one. And now it has modular expansions to help make the game even more challenging and more replayable. And it just wouldn't be the same, or at least not nearly so memorable, without the dice. So that is The Reckoners, which is my number 4.
We
Cool.
actually just put a video up of this week.
Yes,
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
did.
It was an interesting play.
Yeah, we played with Limelight, the expansion
Yes.
for Limelight.
We played
Yes.
with
That was
Limelight.
great.
It was if you guys have not had a chance to watch it, it is a hysterical play. One of the guys literally told us in the end of the halfway through the first round, "Oh, this is easy. I thought you said this was hard."
Oh gosh.
The epics hadn't gone yet.
The epics had not taken their turn yet.
Sweet summer child.
So
Right.
yeah,
Wow.
it was a fun gameplay and well worth the
And then
time to watch it.
when we started to refill the cities with new epics, it's like, wait, what?
But we
Yeah, they
just
come
killed
back.
that one.
Yeah,
Right?
he's back. Well, not him. Somebody else took his place. So
Yep. This
yeah,
is a good
fun
one.
game. I love this
Mhm.
game.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've never been happier about being introduced to a game than I
Right.
was The Reckoners. Yeah,
Yes.
it is an awesome game.
Mhm.
Yes.
All right. My number 4 is, oh my gosh, it is Dominion from Rio Grande Games.
We don't know.
The core game was originally released in 2008. So we own 5 expansions alone, and there's more.
Oh,
And I haven't played most of them.
Mhm.
Just the core box has such a high replay value, though.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
fantastic. So deck building games, and me haven't always gotten along. However, Dominion convinced me that they could be pretty great, and
Mhm.
that's actually what kind of brought me into the fold.
Mm-hmm.
This game only came in at number 4 for me because it can be a longer game and it's not always convenient to get to the table. But I don't know. I like it.
Mhm.
I enjoy the artwork. I enjoy the gameplay. I like the inside of the box has spaces for all the little cards, and it makes me feel organized. So,
It does have a nice insert, yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is.
Yeah, we played this one on the way to the retreat
Mhm.
at your
We haven't
friend's
gotten to
house,
play it in
and
a
we
while.
actually played with somebody who's played this game probably 100 times.
Mhm.
And for the first quarter of the game, I sat there and watched how she was playing, what she was doing. I was like, okay. So it clicked a little bit more with me. I mean, that was only probably our second or third time playing
Yeah.
it.
mhm.
So
Oh, it was
Yeah.
it has earned its place.
They call it the
Yeah.
granddaddy of deck builders for
Yep.
Mhm.
for a reason.
For a
'Cause it
reason.
basically got it going. So
Yeah. It's a good one. Good choice.
Dominion is my number 4.
Okay. My number 3 for Tile Lane games is actually probably my favorite on the list. This was a new one we just got from Kickstarter not too long ago, designed by Ryan Lambert and Adam Ryberg, published by Adams Apple Games. Adams Apple Games, yes. 2022, plays 1 to 6 players. This is Planet Unknown.
Mm.
Absolutely adore this game. This is one where there's 2 different ways to play the game because you have your completely symmetric side. There are 6 boards that are completely identical. The corporations are completely identical. And then there is the flip side of the planet where all planets are different. You've actually got 12 different planets, I think it is, and 6 different corporations that you can mix and match. So replayability is through the roof on this one. The components are fantastic. The whole point of the game is you are, again, polyomino. You are using polyominoes to fill up the planet that you're exploring, trying to avoid asteroid strikes. And if you do have asteroid strikes, you need to get them cleared off because, by God, they're going to hamper your scoring at the end of the game if you don't. Meanwhile, there's a tech track on your corporation board that you're trying to climb in order to get bonuses to activate things on your planet to get more things onto your planet. It is a fantastic game. This one made the list. Like I said, it is my favorite of all 5 on my list. It's probably my favorite tiling game out there right now.
and this is a polyomino game that I can actually win.
And he has won this one. I have not. I mean, I've won it a couple times. We've played this one quite a bit. The real draw to this game, I think, and what really attracted me to this game in the first place on Kickstarter was the Lazy Susan mechanism. The tiles, there are 12 different tile sizes that are put into a Lazy Susan in the middle of the table. And the Lazy Susan is even modular. You can pull the middle section out and turn it and put it back in. So your choices can differ from game to game. You don't have to only have the same 2 sizes grouped together. But each round of the game, you have a choice of 2 of the 12. And that's all based on whoever's turn it is to go first. They get to set the Lazy Susan, and you're stuck with 2 choices right in front of you, and that's it. You can't pick from across the table. So it's a neat mechanism. I think Adam's Apple Games hit it out of the park with the production quality on this one. It is absolutely fantastic. And like I said, my favorite of the list, but that is Planet Unknown.
Nice.
Okay. My number 3 multi-use card game is Race for the Galaxy. Tom Lehman made this in 2007 by Rio Grande Games. It's 2 to 4 players. This one's cool because you're building your world in space, and you're going to be drafting, or not drafting cards, you're drawing cards, but you're going to get cards, and you got to pay as you put a card out. You got to pay with certain cards. And or the cards are also used as resources when you are producing resources. So you just take one of the cards off the stack, slide it under, and then each card, there's like 2 or 3 different types of cards that you can use to build different things with.
Each card specifies whether
it's a world,
how many it takes to build it,
right,
and whether it's a world or a what's the other icon?
Like, yeah, that's the part that I
the
can't
triangle,
remember.
whatever.
Anyway,
But there's everyone specifies a specific number of cards. So if it has a 5 on it, you're paying 5 cards out of your hand, cards you may want to build, you have to throw away in order to build that planet.
yeah.
So it's just
But
it's
how
very
bad do you want
interesting.
that plan out? Do you
Yeah.
like these work a little better, or
Yeah.
So you're scoring points on those. So,
But yeah, the whole game is nothing but victory points and
cards,
cards.
because you're even playing cards to say what action you're taking. So
Yeah.
Mm.
That's a good one. It's a good choice.
So, but yeah, that's Race for the. I was getting ready to say Race for the World. That's a new game coming out. But
Yep.
Race for the Galaxy.
Alrighty, my number 3 dice chucking game. So by and large, most dice games that I tend to appreciate have kind of fantastic element to them, and they tend towards the typically Ameritrash side of the ledger. You're in direct conflict. You're having an adventure. Your dice are being rolled to use your sword on the big bad and make for epic moments that you'll talk about for months afterwards. That's really the big draw of dice, is to make moments. But that's not to say that that's their only ability. So my number 3 is Kingsburg, which is a game where you play as lords and ladies administrating realms in the name of the king. And over the course of turns, you attempt to influence members of the king's court to get yourself the resources that you will need to build up and protect your town over the course of several seasons for a total of 5 years. But in order to get these resources and spend them to upgrade your town, you're rolling dice to figure turn order and place them on counselors you want to influence. Counselors are numbered 1 through 18 in rank in sort of a worker placement motif. So what resources and benefits you gain are based on the counselors you're influencing using your dice. And you can split the 3 dice, plus, depending on if you have it or not, you may have an extra white die. You can split those dice to influence multiple counselors, or if you really want to be take that-ish, you can even block other players' placements. As the game goes on, every winter phase, an engagement comes through to try to wreck your town, and you have to make sure that you've got enough military strength and protection to keep your town safe. And we've also done a run through of this on the channel as well.
Yeah.
And the game works so sleekly. It offers extra benefits to players who are behind as kind of a catch-up mechanism, which is very helpful, especially for newer players. The mitigation of splitting your dice placement tends to give you a lot of choice, regardless of your rolls. And the game just works so well. And ever since we played it, it's been one of my favorites. So that is my number 3, Kingsburg.
Yep. This was early in the collection too.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
really like that, how you put out your dice.
Yeah.
All right. My number 3 is DC Comics deck building game.
Mhm.
Now, the original game, which is behind me, is Cryptozoic Entertainment. It was first published in 2012. We own a few different DC variations of this deck building game, including the Heroes Unite version, which has my favorite man-child Booster Gold. It's a fun game, and one that we really should play more often, actually. I just like having all of the cameos and bits and pieces from all the different heroes, and sometimes it feels a little blasphemous when you have a hero but you don't get their, like, if you have a Green Lantern and you can't get the item, their ring of power or something, but it's still fun to kind of mix it up. This honestly might have ranked higher if they had even once showcased Nightwing's backside, but no, it's not there. So they're relegated to the 3rd spot. So the DC Comics deck building game is my number 3.
Okay. All right. Well, my number 2 of my Tile Lane games is the Grand Carnival. This was designed by Rob Kramer, produced by Uproarious Games in 2020, plays 1 to 4 players. Again, another one we have a video on. It's amazing how many of these we have videos on the channel for, because even Planet Unknown we've done. And yeah. All right. So anyway, Grand Carnival, this one makes my list because it's the first one we have ever seen, and actually one of the few I've ever seen that is dual layered tile placement. The whole point of the Grand Carnival is you are building a carnival. You are trying to get your customers from the gates up to the big top at the top of your board. You've got barkers that are basically yelling through a megaphone, trying to make people move faster. Meanwhile, you are building your board. You have to build your construction site first, which are just square tiles that basically 4x4 or 2x2 tiles, I guess. 2x2 square tiles that you place on the base of your board. And then from there, that is giving you your construction sites versus your walking areas, your walking paths. And you have to build polyomino tiles into your construction sites. So you're very strategically putting out your construction tiles to make the sizes and the shapes you need in order to place out all of your polyomino rides and your attractions on top of it. This one actually has a new Kickstarter coming that we have backed that is going to take, and it pulls in new artwork, and I think it even has 6 piece tiles.
Yes.
6.
Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting.
Has new gold cards and new ways to play because now it's a traveling fair or carnival.
Okay.
And you're going to be playing at different cities, and each city has a different way you play the game.
That's right. So. I remember that now. Okay. So yeah, very interesting. This one is so high up on the list because it is dual layered. So there's more to think about as you're building. So I like this one, but that is the Grand Carnival.
My number 2, I'm always one behind. My number 2 multi-use card game from Paul Dennen, Direwolf Games from 2020, 1 to 4 players, is Dune Imperium. We played the game before I'd even seen the movie Dune. I didn't read the books of Dune, so I didn't know how thematic it was, but it's not bad. But this one you're using, is it a deck builder? It's kind of a deck builder. You're buying cards to put in your, because each round you're going to play your cards.
Yes.
Just like in Clank, you put out all your cards. You're going to draft some cards. You're going to do things, use the cards to do it on the board, because the card can either be used for its power or used for its symbols, which allows you to put your Meeple someplace on the board to do that area's actions.
Or you can use it for resources at the end of your turn to either, to gain
money,
strength, or to gain resources or money. Yeah.
So it has dual multi-use cards in it. So all the cards are multi-use. So it's cool. I mean, it's like an upscale Clank, I guess you could say, because you're playing cards to be able
the board though, but you are playing cards in order to be able to do things.
Well, in Clank, you're using them to either move on the board or buy new cards. And this one, you can use them to buy new cards. You can move them to go to areas, to do the action on the board, or you can use them as money
and resources,
at the end of the round to get your soldiers out or what have you. So it's a fun game. This has 2 expansions to it now. We haven't played any of the expansions to it yet, though. We don't own the game. Justin owns it, so if we play it, it's always with Justin. So
I've read the first 2 books, and I've seen the original movie with Sting. I haven't seen the new one yet, though.
I saw the original movie in high school. That just dated me drastically. But yes, I have seen the original movie in high school. Never read the books. And we did finally watch the new movie months after playing this game.
Yeah.
Was the new movie fun?
I thought it was good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Cool.
I thought it was very good. Mind you, the only thing I remember about the original movie, I kid you not, is the silly worm. That was it. The worm.
I tried watching the original movie, and I got 20 minutes in. I'm like, this is putting me to sleep.
No, it was dry.
Now, Dune Imperium came out at about the same time as Lost Ruins of Arnak, and there has been a lot of
comparison.
I think the only reason they're comparing it is that
they both have a deck building mechanism.
They
are, and that's it.
Neither game are deck building the primary mechanism of the game. They are a sub mechanism that is just a complement to the game.
Yeah,
you're right.
I don't think there's any correlation between these 2 games, personally.
Yeah.
So that's my number 2, Dune Imperium.
Okay. My number 2. Now, if you've kept tabs on this podcast for any length of time, you know that Mark's Holy Grail is the board game that can function as a GM-less RPG. And with autumn falling and Halloween right around the corner, this is the perfect time to showcase one of my favorites that comes as close as any game to that ideal, where you are adventurers striving to save the land from the dread creatures and undead that hide in the shadows and exists to sow fear and horror. And of course, I'm talking about the Castles of Burgundy. No.
I was going to say, wait a minute.
I mean, Folklore the Affliction. In Folklore the Affliction, you plunge right into the pool of the world of horror through various character archetypes, each of them with their own flaws. The game focuses on an immersive storyline, strategic combat, character development, and intense character customization elements. And throughout the game, dice are used. And I mean various types of dice, all in your RPG polyhedral glory. Combat is D100 based and is used both in and out of skirmishes. Dice are used for skill checks, for damage, for random charts throughout the storybook, and even if you want to mitigate them, for the potential of encounters as you travel. Weapons will offer more and better levels of dice, moving up from the D4s, which there are actually, like the Caltrop D4, don't drop them on the floor types, to all the way up to like the D10s and D12s. They offer you better levels of dice for damaging the evils you fight. Combat is tactical, but even the best tactics can fall off a cliff if you roll badly. And in this system, it works. You're a pitiful mortal fighting the evils of darkness. Did you expect to win without a little bit of luck? You fool. Now, dice aren't the only draw here. The story to Folklore the Affliction is absolutely awesome, and there is an immense amount of customization to the characters, which can be even more expanded with the 2 add-on boxes that I believe they are standalone, but can be added on to your original game as well. Dark Tales and Fall of the Spire. And there are additional card packs all over the place that Greenbrier sells. It can actually be overwhelming because there is simply so much to the game. But this is without a doubt the best replication of an RPG in the board game continuum. And if this system had an offshoot with less horror and more high fantasy theme, I could probably pretty much end my search at that point. So that is number 2, Folklore the Affliction.
My number 2 is Carnival of Monsters by Amigo, originally published in 2019. Now, somehow this game made it to my number 2 spot. Despite the designer, Richard Garfield, being the same person who created Magic the Gathering and inadvertently causing me to want to rock in a corner anytime I hear cards being shuffled. Magic the Gathering is fine on its own. I just, was forced to play it way more than I wanted to a couple of decades ago, I guess. Wow. Okay, moving right along. This game definitely has some Magic the Gathering hallmarks, and maybe that's the reason why I picked it up so quickly. But that's most likely between me and the therapist that I'm not seeing, but probably really should. Overall, the artwork is beautiful and haunting, actually. The theme and aesthetic is right up my alley. It's really easy to get to the table. I mean, you've got these different lands, and you've got to have so many lands so that you can capture a critter and bring it, or a monster, and you bring so that you can kind of like keep it in that habitat. And ultimately, you want to have the most points so that you have the most clout and you win the game. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's basically it. I mean, it's another kind of engine building game. It's another one where I get kind of whiny at the end because if I had one more round, but overall, I really enjoy the game, and it's really simple. This is not a difficult game. This is a very low level entry game.
It's got a very nice Victorian aesthetic too. It's got that you know, like all the cards that have writing on them, it has that nice look. This is like right off the printer, you know, with the different fonts, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very, very, it's got a very good aesthetic to it.
Mm-hmm, it
Right.
does. Right. So Carnival of Monsters is my number 2.
All right. And finally, my number 1, again, Tile Lane Games. This one is, again, not my favorite, but it is the quintessential Tile Lane game. I'm not sure if it was the one that created the mechanism, but I would not be a bit surprised. If it did not create it, it definitely was right up there at the top. This is Carcassonne. Designed by Klaus-Jürgen Ried, produced by Hans and Gluck originally, but dozens of others. I think our copies are Z-Man, or I'm not even sure. We've got multiple versions and copies of this game. Original publication year was 2000. Most editions play 2 to 5 players. This is one where the tiles all started out in a bag or a stack or a tower, whichever one you want to use. And one by one, everybody's drawn a tile and matching up the terrain to build cities, expand your roads, or to expand, hopefully, a field that your farmer is laying in. Again, there are dozens of expansions to this game. I'm sorry to say we own quite a few of them. There are dozens of standalone versions of this game, and we own several of those too. There are 2-player versions of this game. Both the city and the castle are 2-player versions. We have the castle. We got to play the city at the retreat, which was very, very different.
Yes.
It was interesting. But regardless, this one made my list because it is, when I think of Tile Lane games, this is the first one that pops into my mind. But that is Carcassonne.
Awesome.
My number 1 multi-use card game isn't a surprise, I don't think, if you've heard the podcast, but this is Stefan Feld, Z-Man Productions, 2013 2 to 4 player, and this is Bruges. These cards in this game have so many different things.
There's
that
like
can
6
be used
different
for.
things you can use them for.
I mean, you
It's
can
crazy.
use it to become a building. You can use it to get more workers. You can use it to get more money. You can use them to actually
build a canal.
Build a canal.
Space.
You can use it to get rid of threats, and you can use it for actually what the power on the card is.
Yeah.
So there's so much you can use with a card. So, and it makes it really hard to go, I really want to build this character, because you're going to end up playing every card in your hand every round except for one. And you're like, I really, really want to play this, but it costs so much. But I really need these yellow characters so I can actually activate the cards I already got down. Okay, I'm going to sacrifice and get some workers so I can activate my cards. And yeah, so I have a blast with this card game. This is my favorite Stefan Feld game. It's probably my top 10 games of all time.
This was a Grail game for a long time.
Yep.
Yes, it was, and Katy found it.
I did.
I keep her around just for that. You know, she finds the games I want the most for. But yeah, I don't win it that often though. She normally wins it. She has this knack of the games I'm dying to get and dying to play. She always wins them. So,
Can I remind you of Planet Unknown?
Yes, I beat her at Planet Unknown quite often though. But so yeah. That is Bruges. It's a very beige game, as people say. And it actually has a remaking, which I think is Amsterdam.
Hamburg? I don't know, it's one of them.
It's one of the new city games from Queen Games that they're putting out. They basically reworked it, though. But I would rather play Bruges. I've seen the new version of it, and yes, it's colorful. Yes, it looks cool. But I paid way too much for Bruges and wanted it for so much longer. I'm not going to play the version. So, but yeah, that's Bruges. That's my number 1 multi-use card game.
Okay. My number 1 is Sea of Legends by Guildhall Studios. And oh my God, clutch your pearls, all you old schoolers. I am pulling out an app-assisted game for number 1. See, I hear you in your get off my lawn voice that sounds suspiciously like my own. Talking with curmudgeonly glee about how phones and tablets have ruined board games. And because in my day, we pushed around primary colored wooden cubes uphill both ways on beige boards and never had to worry about someone taking their server down and invalidating my game. And I get you, but see, I kind of like games that integrate well with apps, especially storytelling games for multiple reasons. I mean, one, they can continue to be updated and added on to long after the initial game has been released without being forced to resort to a second printing by Queen Games to fix errors that they may have missed the first time around, for instance. Two, the apps can handle a lot of things that you would usually need, like a 2 foot tall stack of cards to handle, which necessitates searching through for card number 407. Oh, wait. Did you pick up the axe? Then it's 407B. Oh, and do you have a coconut in your inventory? Okay, then it's 407J. No. The app can handle all that. See, and on its own, Sea of Legends is not just another pirate game. You're going through the Caribbean, looting and burying treasure, raiding ports, and then there's the Spanish Armada, the Atlantean, and the undead and cultist and Aztec factions out to give you. And oh my God, even the British? Gah! The game does a brilliant job of utilizing the storytelling system and integrate it with die icon abilities that help you grow your character and handle the combat and checks that come about in the game. Throughout the game, you'll need to make skill checks and force combat with your ships in order to raid ports, gain treasure and equipment, defeat enemy factions, fall in love, and defeat your nemesis. Not everything in this game revolves around dice rolling, but most of your critical actions require you to roll and mitigate the icons on them to perform actions. Icons for your captain, your lover, and your nemesis will come up on your rolls, and they can help or hinder you in battle and in skill checks on your quest to become the biggest, baddest ship in the Caribbean. And all throughout, you'll go on adventures, and the app will help walk you through them, even to the point of taking into account now what other players are doing, and that integrates into your story now. So could this game be the exact same without dice? I just don't think so. I feel like the dice push so much of a go for broke mentality in some of your obstacles that it just makes the game better and makes for so much more of a memorable experience. So this is definitely one of my favorites, and I know it's just gone through a Kickstarter for an expansion, which we also backed. And that is Sea of Legends by Guildhall Studios, and it is an amazing game in my personal opinion.
All right. My number one is Call to Adventure by Brotherwise Games. This base game was first published in 2019. So this game may be possibly considered more of a card drafting than deck building game, but BGG has it listed as deck building, so that's what I am going with.
Mm-hmm.
Semantics.
To be honest, the storytelling driven game has players cast runes instead of rolling dice, and while that has nothing to do with deck building or card drafting, that single quirk makes me so happy that it's probably clouding my judgment, and that's how it got to number one. The art is beautiful. Actually, the art is more than beautiful. The art has such a painterly look on it. It's very classical. And I really enjoy creating my hero or my villain or my anti-hero or whatever. And then trying to connect all these background and skill cards and everything together to create a cohesive story arc at the end of the game. And even though no matter how fantastic my story arc might be, it all still comes down to points. So even if you're a crap storyteller, it's okay. You just gotta, rig the game. It's a lot of fun. And the runes definitely are probably its biggest selling point for me. But I couldn't make a list that, of 5 games that let me throw rocks instead of, dice. So here we are. So Call to Adventure is my number one pick.
No, I would agree with that. The art on these cards, like any one of those cards could be basically a poster. And the new Kickstarter that we picked up is the Epic Origins, which actually is like they've kind of twined it around to the point where now Call to Adventure is setting itself up where you can actually use this kind of the way we were talking about role player and role player adventures. You can use your characters on this to set up backgrounds specifically for D&D type characters, which is kind of cool. We'll mostly play it for the game aspects and everything like that, but it is a great game. I feel like we're really lucky we managed to stumble upon this one.
Yeah,
Definitely.
this is one I've seen in a lot of places and I've been curious about it, but never really looked. It's one of those games like, well, that looks kind of cool, but I don't know a lot about it. I didn't know that it was actually deck building in it.
No.
So
No,
The deck building aspect of it is, it's vital, but it's really, I don't know, it just doesn't, it's not as in your face as other games. It's a step. It's like Lost Ruins of Arnak.
That's
Deck building isn't completely like, it's not, being shoved in your face, but it's a vital part of the game.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Which Lost Ruins of Arnak, Dead Reckoning, and another one were like my
On your short list.
Your short list,
Short
yeah.
list.
I
my
had
notable mentions or whatever.
Yeah, I
So-
had quite a few short lists. Patchwork
yeah.
being one of them. Isle of Cats
yeah.
being one, but I didn't want to start Mark off on a, I didn't want to trigger anything, so I decided not to put that on there.
Yep.
No, like I said, I could have easily done Sagrada. I could have easily done Role Player. I could have easily done any of those, but I opted for games. I could have done Destinies too. Destinies has got a really cool experience system, but I feel like it's more upfront in Sea of Legends because almost all your skill checks are based off of your icons, as opposed to Destinies where there's a lot more moving around and such.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
All right.
at any rate, so that is our 5 things for this month.